All right, good morning. It is September 13th and 9 o'clock, and it is time for I Read the Clermont Sun so you don't have to. This is the September 11th edition of the Clermont Sun, and let's get right into it. I think this will be a quick one because there is literally, I I shit you not, no news in this newspaper. So this is the front page. It's 14 pages, maybe because of 9/11, they added some advertising or something. But I went through this and it's just like there's nothing in here. There's literally nothing in here. Now, there's let's say, I mean, obviously there's something in here, but it's not news. And so first thing was this article on a book written by this guy, Jim Serger, and Brad Winstrup, which tells you a little bit, called 9:11, A Time to Always Remember Salute to Service, that was just available in August. And, um, my wife every year watches this documentary on 9/11 that was done. It was done by these French guys. I think it's just called 9/11, and they were filming a documentary on the fire department when 9/11 happened. So they were with these firemen and knew, and so they just stumbled into it, but they were like on site filming this thing. So it's a wonderful thing to watch and see the bravery and courage of these firemen when this all happened. Now, we are 24 years after 9/11, and I think we need to obviously remember 9/11. And, but I think also time has helped us to understand the tragedy and murder of that day, but also how our leader class, used it and responded to it in a manner that literally created trillions and trillions of dollars of more debt and thousands of American more deaths, and literally hundreds of thousands to more of deaths of other people. And you know, if anything, I think I totally support the military, and I think it's very supportive of the military to say that we have got to back off. That our one of our first things we do in any situation is immediately military, and you know, starting wars and getting wars should be a thing of last resort. And we did a lot of, well, how do you say it, fire ready aim after 9/11, and costing us trillions of dollars, creating unbelievable distress in the lives of Americans, a further gutting out of our middle class with PTSD and other things, 20 years in Afghanistan, just the lessons after 9/11. So I haven't seen this book. I was a little curious as to why it's 9:11. And I even asked Grok because I couldn't, and Grok said that there could be some aspersion relating to Revelation 9:11, which has some king called Abaddon in there. But I just thought it was weird, and I looked in the article. There was nothing as to why it's punctuated. I don't believe there's anything as to why it's punctuated 9:11 versus 9/11. But anyway, it appears the book is, just stories of service of people. Maybe there's a nice chapter in there about awesomeness of Brad Winstrup. Um, and I'm all for that. I just, we've had a lot of that, and I'm all for it. I'm not, I don't want to, but I think that a book you're releasing 24 years after 9/11 needs to be maybe deeper than just that same stuff. That has been the subject of countless books. Again, I'm not saying I'm against it. I'm just saying we have to take some introspection. And when it's just another, it appears, book of the same kind of things that we've seen over and over again in a world where now I think 9/11, a lot of people have a lot of questions, about, things from the third building collapse, the this or that, that the ramifications of a leader class that use this as a basis to spend trillions and trillions of dollars of debt and destroy, I think a book now, I'm going to be honest with you, I'd rather see a book now that was chronicling the tragedies that took place in the 20 years after 9/11 to affect service members that were put in harm's way in pointless wars that were not targeted at the jugular of the root causes of 9/11. We're still waiting to find out how the Saudis were involved in 9/11. And, and it's still like, it's like the Epstein stuff. It's like we're tired of a leader class that wants to write books, Brad Winstrup, on brah, rah, brah, brah, I'm awesome, while we never see any accountability ever for the leader class's constant bad decisions that have adverse effect on millions of Americans and millions of people throughout the world. Brad Winstrup should write a book about the tragedy of the damage that has been caused to people who served after 9/11, stuck in pointless wars that were not designed to actually take out the threat, and how we actually, in many cases, made it worse. We made it worse. And thus, when we made it worse, it's all a progression. We made it worse. And then we start, because we've made all these countries a mess now, because we don't get it. We don't get that they're not like the US. People didn't come on boats to find a new country. That what happened is that we a lot of that contributed to the refugee crisis of all these refugees going to Europe, because all their Middle Eastern countries have been basically decimated. So they try to get out. But anyway, if you want a book telling stories, the kind of stories Brad Winstrup would want told, this sounds like it's your book. And maybe in the book somewhere it explains why it's 9:11 versus 9/11. But there's a long ass article, and apparently there's going to be part 2 of the article. Of course, I say that this is Pravda. The Clermont Sun is Pravda. And the Clermont Sun is never, ever, ever going to be asking Brad Winstrup about his role in decisions and his regret, if any, for decisions that were tragic after 9/11. And that's what bothers me. It's just like Brad Winstrup is such a suit, is such a empty suit. Let's talk some more about Brad Winstrup and his awesomeness. And, so I'm not taking anything away from any of the stories in the book. I'm all for, but, at this juncture, 24 years after, Jim, I'm sorry. Why don't you write a book about the people who served, that were damaged by bad decisions made after 9/11, because we have to learn from those bad decisions. This is not a Marvel comic movie. It's not, and nice smile and everything, Jim, but how about something other than what we've had a million books on already? And I'm not taking away from the stories. All right. So I spent a lot of time just talking about that, just because it bothers me that everything, it's like we want to have in this paper. There's so much stuff in here that has to do with the military and so on and so forth. I'm not against any of that, but maybe we need to step back and say, maybe our role isn't to be the military bombing places all over the world. And maybe the first resort for every issue isn't the military intervention. Okay, now let's go. We got another Pablum weekly update from the county engineer. Okay, all right. This is always the front page story. There's no other front page news, and there's literally no news on the front page. So I'm zoomed in here, but there's no news on the front page of this paper. You've got guy has a book. You can buy it on Amazon. Weekly construction updates. Okay, that should be an interior page thing with, Megan's too lazy to have a little map pointing to where the, project 1, 2, 3, 4. That would be too logical for this paper. Then we've got submitted content. Okay. The disabled American veterans. Okay. I'm all for them. They're one of the things like Goshen schools that have realized they can pretty much submit anything to the Clermont Sun and it's going to get printed. So you see the same articles by the same entities, because they know the code that if the paper doesn't have anybody writes anything, Megan sucks. So they just print anything. And then Clermont County new public information officer. So none of this is news. This is not, maybe it's interesting stuff, but when you think about what really counts as news. Okay, so let's go to page 2. Okay, you've got from the disabled American veterans, thing going on. All for the disabled American veterans. I'm not against, this, but it just is so tiring reading this paper where everything is junk and submitted content. And I know if you're the entity, I'm not saying the submitted content is junk. I'm just saying, what is the point of a paper that just reprints submitted content? The disabled American veterans can have a Facebook page and put their content there and you can go read it. Then we got the community calendar. I got to go check out. I've observed that the park board never seems to be on the community calendar anymore because they don't want me showing up to question why Andrew McAfee, who is a super weird guy who lives in Hamilton County, is the preferred choice of David Painter and the Dream Team to be on things like the park board. I don't know why this guy is there. He said, when I asked him the one time, he said he represented the business interest. And I'm like, have you ever had a business, ever had an employee? And the answer is no. How is he representing anything? What he is a reliable yes vote and a patsy. So, it's just, but those kind of people, you realize, and I think I need to talk about this at some point, none of our leaders have any principles really. They will work with anybody who serves their interest alone. It's not about, so Andrew McAfee, weirdo from Hamilton County, but he's a reliable yes man patsy that protects elected officials. They're all for him. Let's do it. We love you, Andrew. Anybody who has a brain, they don't want those people. They don't want those people. The entirety, I believe, a significant percentage of the appointments in the government in Clermont County are DEI, and it's DEI. It's people that are not qualified necessarily, but they're reliable yes votes. So you get, and I'll give an example here because I think it was part of his beginning to have his eyes open. Bill Thomas, who hated me, was totally against me. Buddy, these people love him, love Bill Thomas. But as soon as he wants to, for example, be appointed to a board, that ain't going to happen because you're like the dirty whore we use to do bad stuff for us. And that becomes an eye opening event for people of where do you really stand with these people. Okay. So we've got the community calendar here. That's fine. The Hocus Focus, Sudoku, Jungle Jim's ad. This is a page is always the same. Now we get into opinion. We got John again every week. John gets like half a page, and I don't even care anymore. I'm all for the fixing the VA, but it's again, I'm still waiting for John to ever write a article about cutting spending. He won't do it. Can't do it. Not his job. Okay. And that's more disabled American veterans content. They apparently they don't need to have a newsletter because the Sun is their newsletter. And then local agriculture programs, help food systems. Who cares? It's like these just so there's nothing going on in our. You got Bill Thomas being arraigned a second time. You've got all these things going that happen locally. And you got the resource officer issue at Milford. You got the wrestling coach issue. Never, ever, ever a word shall be mentioned in the absolute joke Clermont Sun, but you get some article about some op-ed about something we don't even, who the fuck cares? Like it's not, I'm not saying, I'm just saying it's like, this is it. And it's like, it's articles by people that have a private nonprofit. Kaylee Olson. I wonder if Kaylee Olson's ever been in Clermont County. Okay. It's just so sad. Now we get into more submitted content. Oh, done everybody. Top news story in Clermont County. Nick Brown joins Merchant National Bank. Awesome. Yes, I'm so glad. This is the top news story. We got Batavia Fun Fair. I'm very interested to see. I don't think I'm going to go to this, but it's so the whole like airport trying to manipulate everybody in Batavia, is when they should worry about maybe whether they got nut jobs flying their airplanes. But they don't appear to care about that because it's not their job to do anything about that. That's what we see in Batavia. And I love the whole notion that now everybody's for higher property taxes. Let's all rally for higher property taxes for everybody. Let's go. Then we got like submitted content, Red Cross, submitted content, Clermont Chamber. It's just such a piece of shit newspaper. We've never had anything, by the way, on the November elections. Oh, how about this? Let's use this as an example. One of the things you have uh, on Batavia Township. Okay, Batavia Township. I thought they were like Jesus. They don't live stream their meetings. They won't do interviews, but they're like Jesus. Linda Fraley country. You know, there's a lawsuit in the Supreme Court about a housing development involving Batavia Township and the ballot. That's never been covered in the paper. It's never been covered in this reg paper, but you have crap. I mean, just literal crap. Like, just everybody write an article. You know, hey, look, there's a blue hair person. I like the Hodge twins, and if you've never watched them, I haven't watched them in a long time, but they were part. Like, they'll see like women and they'll go, you know, she, her, and then whenever they see a blue hair, they go they, them. There's a they, them. Okay, and because they're trying to be respectful of the pronouns. Okay, so now we get into the sports thing. Okay, and we've got, you know, I say it every time. Jake Dowling, you know, is the only redeeming part of this paper. You know, and so there's lots of sports content here, and it's all Jake Dowling, and it all has pictures by Jake Dowling, who's showing not only the content, but I know I'm a broken record, but just how terrible this paper is, because he single-handedly does all this stuff, and you know it's reasonably a lot of times formatted okay. Sometimes it's junk the way it's formatted, but he covers all this stuff, all these pictures, all the live action, all by him. He's one guy, and Megan Alley doesn't do shit. You know, it's just so. Imagine if the news part of this paper was just half as good as the sports part of this paper. Okay. Just half as good. Then it would be rocking and be off to rocking. Okay. But what's his face, Scott Champion? I've approached him twice about this paper, and apparently I don't know, it's just milking it till it dies, and he doesn't care anything about the local community actually getting news. And so now we're right to the payola part of the paper. Every week, same deal. Only way this paper stays in business is because all these government legally required ads. And if the government ever for a while switch these to the Enquirer, which they could do, Clermont Sun's out of business and it's over. And therefore, you're never going to read anything in the Clermont Sun critical of government because they effectively are controlled by the government. Okay. And so, all right, now we're going to go past all these ads. Maybe that's why they had an extra page this week. More Jake Dowling. Okay. More Jake Dowling. I mean, it's unbelievable how good of a job this guy does and how absolutely terrible the rest of this paper is. And Matt's take, you know, Matt, when you're going back to Dollywood, we need some Dollywood articles. But I noticed Matt's articles in a few other papers. I think I saw it in one of the other papers in Adams County. I want to say I saw it in the Informer or whatever it's called, which is a competitor paper to the Champion Group papers, Champion Media papers. All right, and then we've got more on this 9/11 book. Frankly, even this picture here, if they would have gone to Amazon and just taken the picture of the book off Amazon, it would have been a clearer picture. So the book was released. You got this long ass. Now, this woman that writes these articles, she's incapable of writing an article that's not like 2 pages. So they must love her because she just fills up the pages with stuff. And it just goes on and on. Okay. Not against any of the stories told here. And now let's see what we are. Oh, there's an ad. There's a section, an ad section for Patriot Day. Okay. I don't know. Is that a name we have now for 9/11? It's called Patriot Day. I don't. But okay, it's Patriot Day, and so you got some ads in here for Patriot Day. So this is why they have an extra page. All right. So that's the paper. How am I looking on time? All right. So now let's go to the Jungle Gyms ad, and there we go. And let's see what we got here. I have not looked at the Jungle Gyms ad. So again, why do I do this every time? Because Jungle Gyms pays to have their ad inserted in the in the ones that are available at at Walmart where you can buy the paper, but they don't put the Jungle Gyms ad in the PDF version of the paper, which if I was Jungle, I'd be like, it's kind of bullshit. Why don't you put our ad in the online version of the paper also, the PDF version? But let's see what we got here. Jungle Gyms, 50 years of imagination. We used to live, my wife and I, the only time that I lived not in this area, I lived in Fairfield, and Jungle Gym lived close to where we lived. We lived in a condo, and down the street there was like a little enclave, like a little street of fancy houses, and Jungle lived back there. That was in the era when there was a scandal involving people were using Jungle Gyms. There was never any. He got. I don't. I want to say if he got off, it was not like, but apparently, like there was some accusations of produce shipments bringing drugs in. But anyway, that I don't know whatever happened with that. But obviously, Jungle wasn't. There wasn't something going on that caused Jungle to go to jail or anything, or there'd even be some trial. I don't think. Okay, so got steaks, meats, fantastic, looks delicious as usual. 7-Up varieties, $2.49. I haven't had a 7-Up in years. I haven't had a Sprite in years. And then let's see what we got here. Energy drinks, app deals. Apparently, there's some deals you have to go to the app to get them. And some more meats. Don't forget the podcast. Bob Evans meats. That's probably pretty good. Cook those up. Be delicious. Put that on the griddle. We could get some of that. I could use some sausage, patty or link, and seafood, farm fresh produce as usual. All looks fantastic. They do a good job on this thing, just making the food look good and delicious. And you want to get some of it. Their deli. I got to go over there and get some beer a little later. Maybe I'll finally get some stuff at the deli and so forth over there. By the way, you can take tours at Jungle Gyms. There is a phone number you can call and set up a tour, which would be, I want to do that sometime because I think it'd actually be interesting. Chef Boyardee pizzas. I actually like Chef Boyardee pizzas. Okay, I used to like Bruno's Pizza in Miami, which is in Oxford, but I like cheap ass pizza. I like Chef Boyardee pizzas. And Bounty Essentials. I don't know what essentials means. Like some sort of like different levels of paper towels. Hot Pockets. My son used to love Hot Pockets. I like Hot Pockets until I make them and try to eat them in those tubes, and then I'm like, I don't need this. Frozen fries from different places. Arby's, Rally's. Rally's has. I should get some of these Rally's fries because I love Rally's fries and Checkers fries, but there's not one close to my house anymore. And I could try to air fry some of those and start to taste them like they came from the place. Homemade brand ice cream, delicious. Bakery stuff. Now we're getting close to the beer part, the beer and liquor part of this. And I want to see if they got Natty Light because it's been like 3-4 weeks now they haven't had Natty Light, but they used to have Natty Light on sale every week. Tortillas and stuff. Remember Golden Buckeye cards, seniors save 5%. What else we got here? Barbecue sauces. Now, if you like that show Hot Ones, and people that know Jungle Gyms probably know this, but if you like that show Hot Ones, they have a whole section of wing sauce that is unbelievable at Jungle Gyms. And they have a lot of that stuff that's on that Hot Ones show. I went over there thinking, oh, this would be fun. I'm going to get some of this $2 million, whatever, and blow my neighbors' heads off. But it turns out it's freaking expensive as hell. A lot of it's very, so bring your wallet. But they have a big section of hot sauces for chicken wings that are like what's on that Hot One thing. Then we got the usually weird toys. Chad Johnson toy, a pop, whatever that is. Creative scientific toys. Cute food toy and toy plush. Doesn't look cute to me, but maybe somebody likes it. Now, then we're gonna have the pop. Oh, I might have to get some Mountain Dew or something because they got the 12-pack, $5.49. I hardly ever buy pop, and so the prices of it when I buy it, oh wow, I can't believe what it costs because it's so rare that I buy it, and compared to the olden days. and some other stuff here. And we're almost the beer and wine's going to start. Let's see if Natty Light made the cut. No Natty Light. No Natty Light. We got Buzz Balls, whatever the hell that is. Seltzers. Tsing Tao, Chinese beer. Maybe I'll have to get some of that for drink some Chinese beer. My good friends in China, they make a lot of stuff for me and for you. I've been to China probably at least a dozen times. And Tsing Tao is the beer in China, the main beer. And trivia thing you can tell your friends is that Tsing Tao, there are two versions, or there were. It's been a while since I've been to China, but there were two versions because the Chinese government thought people in China were drinking too much and getting too drunk, because they're getting more affluent. And so they made the beer company change the alcohol level to be lower. So they lowered the alcohol level, and the Tsingtao that Chinese people, when I was going there, were getting was a lower alcohol Tsingtao. But if you were Western, they can tell you're Western, and you could tell them you wanted like original Tsingtao, and they would give you they still had the version that had more alcohol, like regular alcohol, like a domestic U.S. beer, but they had reduced the alcohol in the generally available version for the citizens. But I might have to pick up some Tsingtaos, okay, just to be kind of a humorous thing to have some Tsingtaos. All right, so that is the Clermont Sun for September 11th, and it's September 13th. And this paper is just boring as hell, and doesn't have much of any news, and it's just sad because it's such a juxtaposition too, because the sports guy again does such a good job. All right, I guess I'm gonna keep reading this. At some point I'm just getting, this is like a waste of your life looking at this paper. But it is what it is. I am going to sign off. Have a good weekend and a good upcoming week, and see you next Saturday for